Gymatorium Media Center.
We were introduced before, but I'm Brian Manning, and this is Tina Sayas. Tina's done most of the work on this project, and so she's going to do most of the talking, but I'm going to introduce it, if I could. What is a feasibility study, and why would you do one? You probably all know that, but I'm going to tell you anyway. You do a feasibility study to see if it makes sense to do something with a building. So we were tasked to look at, does it make sense to put a satellite of the community college in this building? And what is going to be the cost, what is going to be the timeline if it does make sense? So the things we looked at, and Tina will get into these, again, the bones of the building, already discussed here tonight. We took a look at the physical characteristics of the building, the age, the work that's been done. Our firm has done quite a bit of work on this building, actually, so we know it pretty well. So we did a detailed study involving all of our engineers and architects to find that the building is in adequate condition for the renovations we need to do. The next part of the study is to see what the college wants to put in the building. What programs, what kind of special needs there are for equipment, for power, noise, whatever, and see that those things will fit into this floor plan. And if they don't, what are we going to do? Are we going to do an addition, things like that. So that's the other part of the study. Once we find the condition of the building, what we need to do to fix that, if at all, and see that the community college's program will fit the building, then it's just to course out the cost of different options within that. And we went through many, many options, as you'll agree, to get to a point where everybody on the county, college, and school side were in agreement that we had a solid project that we could say, yes, indeed, it's feasible. It's feasible to move this program to this building. So I'm going to turn this over to Tina now, and she's going to explain a little bit more detail. What would that be important?
Sure. Well, firstly, I just want to say when we were awarded this, the project to do the feasibility study, internally as an organization, we were really excited because as architects, we immediately saw the potential that this building had. Like Brian said, it's a well-built building. Actually, it was built in the early '60s by a very notable, nationally known architecture firm, Perkins & Will, and it's very typical of its time. It's a steel-framed building with masonry, and it is a very clean, organized, clear layout. It's mainly 2 stories. Most of you probably know this, but it's mainly 2 stories.
Tina, ask for one mic to go on, so Tina.
Okay. So it's a mainly 2-story building.
Can you say that?
Yes.
Can you see? Is that okay? Yeah. Single loaded corridors, which means that there's one corridor and then rooms directly off of those. And an incredible amount of natural daylight in this building. And what that allows for is for daylight to come through the corridors and then actually get transferred into the now the classrooms that would become seminar spaces or lecture rooms. So it's got some really great qualities to begin with. These are just some photos showing kind of the examples of those, the few things I mentioned. Some of these are taken up at the 2nd level, and you can see again the natural daylight coming through. You can see this is a classroom in the center top picture that has what we call clear story, which is glazing above the wall to the ceiling, so the light penetrates through to the classroom. And then beyond that, on the perimeter wall, all the walls are flanked by incredible window spaces. So it's really a great building in that sense. The site attributes are, it's a very interesting site, as many of you know. It was built on basically a bedrock plateau. The existing entrance is at the lower level. There are some secondary entrances up at the top, which are go out to the play areas. We understand the concerns of the site. Stormwater we know is an issue. Parking we know is an issue, lighting. And we've already at this point have begun to address those issues. Our engineers have planned, at this point to be using pervious paving with, correct me if I'm wrong, 20 inches of stone underneath
Yes, that's correct.
to
Yeah.
retain water. Lighting's been looked at,
That, I'll just point, that pervious paving will be under a parking lot.
a new
That'll
parking
be
lot.
up on the upper level where the playground is today.
I'll get into that.
Okay.
We've looked at lighting, looking at full cutoff lights that, direct all the light into the parking lot so as not to spill into the neighborhoods. Parking. Right now, there's approximately 40 spaces at the lower level, and we intend to provide a new parking level up at the top, at the plateau, and introduce a new, main entrance. So, this is the existing site, as you know it, the top area, let me go up the stairs. Up here is, the upper level, and this is sort of the plateau that looks out to the Catskills. So the views are really phenomenal from up here. On that side, you can see, the parking is kind of cut off, and that's where the 40 spots currently exist. And then back in this direction is the high school, and then back on the lower portion are the lower lots, sort of spillover space and the tennis courts. So there's a few big ideas here, and I guess before getting into the building design, I'm just gonna talk about the site and the parking. The fact that we have to introduce new parking, helped us in that now we need a new entrance. And the entrance really allows us to begin to identify this building as a more collegiate, building. So the top parking now, by reorganizing the drive, we're able to get up to this plateau with a very reasonable slope of 7%, and accomplish 115 parking spaces up here. The main parking lot at this level would be dedicated mainly to students and to visitors. And we would be introducing some retaining walls to, again, help with the stormwater, along both sides, the top and the bottom of the site, and an introduction of a plaza to accommodate students. The existing parking lot, which now is adjacent to the main entrance, would actually become the secondary entrance to the building. And the intent is that that entrance would be used mainly by staff and faculty. So it would probably be card access for those entering into that space. But what it does, it allows us to split the parking and to really be able to accommodate all the requirements for enrollment and faculty. And in this, we're able to accommodate, I think we go from 40 to about 55, so we're, increasing between 10 and 15 spots, which was a great accomplishment on the site. So, before getting into the actual building design, I guess we went through a pretty extensive, intense planning phase, where we met with, yeah, it's a little bright. We met with faculty, we met with administration, several times. We spent a lot of time at the BRC, the existing, location. We spent time in this building. It was a pretty, compact time period. And what came out of that was that the real design intent, there were three, I think, aspects of that. The first one was to really create a collegiate environment. To create a space and a place that students feel like is sort of a campus now. To create clean, forward-thinking spaces that promote interaction, that promote discussion, that promote learning. And third, and very important, to maximize the teaching spaces. So maximize classroom spaces and seminar spaces. What we're seeing here is the second level, which is where we're starting from, because now this is the new main entrance. So at the top, you can see there's the parking area that has sidewalks bringing you into this sort of entrance plaza, which is just over here. We've introduced a new building, main entrance, which is about 25 by 50 feet. And it's, we're looking at a very transparent, open lobby and entrance space that allows for visibility both into the space and out of the space so that you can begin to see the activity within the lobby space. Again, taking great advantage of the views out to the Catskills, and situated right sort of at the crux of the existing spaces. So the two main wings that you can see, and the lower portion here, which what I'm going to refer to as the core, are sort of the three main components of this building. The building addition that sits now right at the crux of them really allows for students, visitors to come into the heart of the building, which is directly adjacent to a main stair which connects both the first and second floor. So there's the new building entrance that brings you into this location, directly adjacent to an open stair, and also adjacent to a new elevator, which would be directly here. The elevator, after looking at several options, we decided to put it inside the building to minimize the amount of excavation into bedrock. So that really worked for us, and it also allowed us to keep the main circulation in a sort of central location. Directly across from the lobby is the Registrar and the Continuing Education Suite. Again, situated very close to the entrance so that when visitors or students are coming in, they can be greeted immediately by administration. Opposite, I don't know do you see that, if I do this, do you see that?
Yeah.
Perfect. So opposite the registration and continuing education office is a main conference room. This is a conference room that would be widely used, and again, situated in a location where when visitors come in to go to a meeting, they're not meandering through the building to get to this space. The rest of the space is organized where this wing is utilized by mainly seminar rooms and classrooms, and this portion of the wing is the same. So there's a number of larger classrooms which accommodate about 40 students, 30 to 40, and then there are several smaller ones. There's also the introduction of these small meeting spaces. Those are intended to be shared spaces that could be used as conference rooms, as tutor spaces, that really serve several purposes. The core space in this case, which is now the gymnasium just above us, is broken down into several spaces. We were able to include, let's see, 4 new classrooms, 3 classrooms, and a computer lab, and also a cafeteria space. And what's nice about it is that it's really all, again, off of the main lobby and close to people coming into the school. Additionally, there's a series of bathrooms and another computer lab up in the corner. So the idea here is that there are several bathrooms that are currently in these locations that we would utilize. There are others that we would abandon, and then there are several new ones that we would add. And you'll see how that works as it follows the floor plan below. So one thing I forgot to mention is that there's a legend here, and what that does is it color codes the use of the space. Sorry, should mention that earlier. So you'll see the light grayish blue is a mechanical space, and there's circulation space, shared spaces, small business development center, which is actually not on this drawing, community college programs, administration, faculty, police academy services, general classrooms, student amenities, and the building addition. You'll see those follow along to the first floor as well. So the lower level is accessed in a couple ways, by the main open stair at the core of the building, an elevator just behind it, and another stair that's in the corridor leading back from the core spaces and back to the current kindergarten space. One of the things we learned while meeting with faculty administration was the importance of the police academy in this facility, and where they need to be located to function properly. So there's one very large lecture room here, and this is a space that accommodates up to 50 cadets. And then there are two other classrooms in the back, another larger one that seats up to approximately 40, and then a smaller one in the back. The cadets would be utilizing this space quite often, and one of the requirements is that they needed to be kind of isolated but compact in one location, as well as on the same floor as their physical training space. So we were able to work out a floor plan that allowed them to be adjacent to their physical training room, which would actually be in this space, flanked by two locker rooms, which you can see here in this red color. Also utilizing above this platform for two offices and some additional bathrooms. The other couple spaces that are in here are community spaces, RSVP, the Senior Computer Learning Center, and the faculty main offices. So the faculty offices and tutor spaces are directly off of the secondary entrance, which is currently the main entrance just out here. The kindergarten space, which is just down the hall, would be broken out into two spaces as it currently is. One, a big classroom space, and the other would be dedicated to the police academy for what they call their firearm simulation space. And this is a space that has to be kind of secured and not as visible as some of their other spaces. That's the second floor. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you covered it.
Am I talking too much?
Picture of the new lobby.
I do. So the next thing is, that's the floor plan, and then the next image is actually an image of how we foresee the building addition. And again, the intent is to create an identity for the school, for the Business Resource Center. A modern space, very transparent, translucent, so that you can really see the activity upon entering the building. And from within the space, you can see out. And really in a location that we think serves the remaining parts of the building well in terms of circulation. Oh, yeah. Questions?
So we would be willing to answer any
Yep.
questions directed to the architects, to Dr. Catalino or myself. What's on your mind?
And
We'd like
Don-
to know more about.
Don, if I could just
Yeah,
take a
sure,
moment.
Chris.
If you're not comfortable speaking tonight, we also have forms, and we